Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast, and welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
Let's have a nope thread going. Give me your best one, /x/.
Be dumb and young back a while ago. The day after Dorner was cornered, I was monitoring events like however many were in the live streams. Everyone thought that the police would be publicly accused of lighting the cabin on fire. It never happened. I decided to avoid the internet fallout. I also wanted to test my Innowoods gear, so I called up some of my high school friends. I asked them if they were up to hang out at an abandoned tobacco barn on a rugged woody hill near a state forest in Kentucky in the then near future. I had never been to it but once, to pick up some shit Blake and Leah left after a party. I did not stay long. If you are from the South or Appalachia, you know them barns. Big barns, several floors high but do not have wood floors, just beams to hang tobacco on to dry. This is important. I got Tristan, Blake, Leah, and Adam. These were classmates and seniors who were able to get good shit to a party. Every single one but Tristan flakes out. So me and him, we decided to take military surplus camping shit, some light hammocks, MREs, the usual out-type shit, and some 22 pistols for snakes. He had a Mosin. On the weekend, he picks me up in his relatively new Ford. We talk up our game plan. We had the idea to shoot some bottles and set up targets to shoot from the barn. We had planned to put a door on the rafters to make a floor to shoot out of, down at the ground, out of the square vent hole in the top of all the barns. We would sleep in hammocks strung from the barn rafters. We would camp in the barn and fortify it, as well as try out some shit from the anarchists' cookbook. We pulled in. The road was good then. We park, unchain the fence, drive in, and park the truck. We passed a small cow pond and some hidden tractor utensils in a growth of briars. We made note of the steel plows for targets. We could totally shoot that with no consequences at all, because we were autistic. The barn is on a hill. The earth was moved to make a level spot for the barn, but the hill goes up and down from the sides of the barn. The barn vents are not on those sides, so we cannot shoot at the plows. We have line of sight from the barn's north entrance to the driveway. The rear entrance faces the road to an extent. Also, some old lady's house was out that way. We did not want to hurt her. We decided to shoot out facing the driveway. First, we make camp. Backpacks come out. Hammocks are procured. Only then do we notice the central roof supports were chewed up at the ground level. From ground to about 6 meters up, it was very rotten with bug and wood-boring insect tunnels. We concluded that it was not safe, so we pulled up tarps and made a semi-tent shelter. We set up a fire and all in the barn. We used cinder blocks for seats and some old 55-gallon drums as tables. Getting cozy, Tristan mentions his Mosin. We blow the fire out. We decide to go and fuck around like irresponsible high school rednecks. We spent the evening blowing shit up with homemade napalm and some homebrew stump remover. Good times. We melted a beer can, burned a dead frog to ash, and knocked over every dead rotting tree we could find with explosives. In a holler that is full of trees and echoes straight into a solid mountain. No one around to give a shit. We hike back through the forest to the barn. In the holler, it gets dark sooner because of the surrounding mountain ridges. I am carrying the Mosin. Tristan has the satchel of shit we were using. He taps my shoulder. We see a coyote running. I aim and fire a 48.5-inch rifle that is neck high to me, shooting a full power cartridge. Fucking miss. He takes it and gives me the satchel. He said he had some more napalm in the truck and wanted to see what happens to a critter. We banter back and forth on the walk to the barn. The tarps are down. The knots were loose or something. They must have fallen over the fire. That is why it is burnt. There are no embers to burn or any coals for heat. Tristan grabs some napalm and another bullet. I move the tarps into a corner and tie them up to the rafter to keep them out of the way. The sun is down and the fire is up again. We lit some dry grass, torched a pine knot, and added more sticks and shit until it was a respectable fire. A cool wind blowing through the north and south ends is messing with the flames, so we put the tarps up in the doorways to stop the wind. We add rocks to hold the bottom down. At this point, I get my pistol out and we clean the guns. We try to put up the hammock. The support is creaking a little more than it did when we were hanging around climbing the rafters. I think it must be the side-to-side stress put on the beam by the hammock, dude. So we put up the door like we planned and camped up there. We carry up sleeping bags and a phone for light. The fire is not enough to see shit. Wake up to something on the ground floor. Tristan taps me and I tap him back. He said he left his rifle down there. I have the handgun. I think it is just a possum smelling food. I roll over a little and look over the side of the barn door suspended in the barn's highest rafters. And down below me is a person. He is standing there, and I am confused as hell. I say, "Tristan, it is someone." Well, it echoes a little loud. The guy hears me and snaps his head up to look. He was by the fire where the barrel was. The fire dies. I hear metal. Tristan screams something about what the hell. I hear wooden sounds. He is on the rafters. Tristan snaps his tactical light on. A Chinese-made 600 lumens shows us jack shit after midnight darkness. I see movement on the far rafter, point and shoot. It sounds like an angry possum, but more quickly than a possum. So Tristan hands me the light. My eyes hurt and are adjusting. The muzzle flash was something bad, or was it me? I do not know. I look around the rafters and cannot see. Then I hear the tarp dragging and look down. My eyes adjust and I see the lower half of the burned tarp was disappearing into the night around the barn wall. I shoot at the wall. No effect, just loudness. After the ringing stops, Tristan tells me we need to get the rifle. We wait until morning. He wants me to cover him with the pistol. He climbs down, then takes the rifle and some shit, and says he is counting to 30 for me to get down there and get the fuck out of there. I was down by 23. Camping shit is thrown into the truck bed, and we are in full GTFO mode. We left MRE wrappers, the burned tarps, and other shit we found there. Driving out, the gate is closed. He gives me the rifle and says to open the gate. No issues here. We leave it open and get out of there. Corny, I know, but we did see half of the tarp in a tree on the way down the mountain.
This happened to me one summer years ago. I went on a vacation with a girlfriend from Oregon. This was in southern Oregon off of the Rogue River in an old mining town. We pitched a tent at her parents' farm and spent the days in the river and the nights drinking beers under the stars. 3 nights in, we went hiking to watch a meteor shower on the top of a mountain behind her parents' property. We were probably only a mile from the farm. We packed binoculars, blankets, some wine, and flashlights. Right after sunset, she led me up along a horse trail to a gravel road. From there, we hit a series of switchbacks which slowly led us to the top, passing a few abandoned mines along the way. The area was heavily wooded, but there was a clearing at the peak where loggers had made their base during a long-ago cutting operation. You could see down into the valley we climbed out of, and over the peak, and down into the other valley to the north below. She grew up here and was not afraid of a night hike, but it honestly put chills up my spine. We laid out the blankets and popped the wine. The shower was not going to arrive until 1 a.m., so we had plenty of time to kill. We played grab ass and watched the stars come out. While we waited, we heard crunching noises on the slope under us. A tall buck sauntered out into that flat clearing that we were in and headed down into the northern valley. It scared the hell out of us, but we had a good laugh. We relaxed again and stared at the stars. We could see the Little Dipper, Vega, Saturn, Sagittarius, and tons of other stars. Around midnight, we were making out, and she suddenly became rigid. I asked her, "What is it?" She said, "Someone is coming," motioning to my left with her eyes. I rolled over and looked up the trail leading up to us from the northern valley. In the dark, I could barely make out the silhouette of a rider on horseback. As he came closer, I could also see he was pulling a mule behind him. He wore a canvas poncho and black shapeless boots. I had never seen a mule before this and was surprised at how large it was. I said hello again, but he just turned back to the trail and headed down the valley that we came from in silence. As he cantered away, his giant mule also gave us the once-over. My girl and I turned to stare at each other in the dark. I asked, "Do you know that guy?" She asked, "Who is that?" She had never seen him before or those horses. She wondered out loud where he could possibly be going. The trail only went back down to her parents' house, and further down about a half-mile was the neighbor's. Spooked now, we turned on both of our flashlights. I felt defenseless after we were rolled up on by this silent stranger. We were too scared to follow him, but did not want to stay where we were either. I asked her what was in the valley to the north. She said there was nothing for about 5 miles, where there was a tiny village consisting mainly of a small gas station, but that it was miles away through a pitch-black forest. This somehow unnerved us both more. We both hastily folded up our blankets and bottles. With nowhere else to go, we headed down the same trail the rider had headed down shortly before. Slowly, we made our way downhill down the same switchbacks. On one particular long and straight section, the beams of our flashlight barely caught the man and his animals slowly passing around the next bend. "Hey!" I screamed out angrily. He just kept going like he did not hear us. My girl asked what if he had a gun or an axe. I said, "Let's just hang back." I was fine with that because this guy was acting weird as hell. We waited for a few minutes in the dark to allow him to get further ahead of us. As we approached the second mine we had passed earlier, we heard a mournful howl come from the mine itself. It sounded like a bird or owl, but it startled us so badly that we both started running downhill. We ran for 2 or 3 more switchbacks before coming to the fork that led back to her parents' farm. I looked towards the section of the path downhill from us and saw nothing. As she started down the trail, I shined the light back uphill behind us. In the glare of the beam, about 40 yards uphill, was the rider. He stood motionless, looking directly at me. There was no reflection from his eyes or any of the riding tack. We must have run past him in the darkness of the trail, I told myself. His ashen mouth started moving, but nothing came out. Suddenly, like a stutterer, he starts saying, I. My adrenaline exploded into my bloodstream. I anxiously turned back downhill and ran down the trail towards my girlfriend, who was already 100 feet down the path. What was he trying to say? Was he even human? Terrified, we both tripped and fell a few times in the dark in our rush back to the house. When we hit the field, we ran all the way to the porch. Her father sat quietly in the dark on the porch. He jokingly asked us if we had seen the miner. I said we saw a guy on a horse with a mule in tow. He said that was the ghost of a miner who had been murdered by his own business partner. He said the miner walks the forest looking for his killer. Now I was so scared that I initially believed the whole thing. The next morning, I dismissed what we had seen and figured her father had talked a neighbor into scaring us. He denied it and then accused us of pulling his leg. That next day, we stood on the porch and constantly scanned the large field leading to the trail. We did not leave the porch and played board games inside when the sun set. The next morning after breakfast, we packed up and drove home. We mulled over the dark rider for hundreds of miles on the freeway, taking comfort in the fact that every mile we drove was a mile further away from the man we saw in the dark.
Be me, living with my aunt and uncle in southern Georgia. They built their house on my uncle's 100-year-old aunt's property. It is on an old cow field, but it is not used anymore, just has a couple of flower beds and trees. The front yard is about half an acre and it hits a barbed wire fence. Beyond that is an empty field about 1 acre with our driveway to the main road on it. The backyard is about 1.5 acres until it hits a fence which leads to woods for miles and miles. Anyways, on to the story. The house is designed so every room has windows so a breeze can blow through the house. There's a main room that is about 75% of the house. It is the living room and the kitchen and dining room all in one giant room. Every time I am in this room during daylight, if I turn my head quick enough, I will see something outside. It is always just a blur because I am turning. But it is like a shadow that is standing in the middle of the yard. It always ducks behind either one of the windows' view, or a tree or car or whatever is there. It started getting closer over the week, like it will be right outside the window, and jump to the side of it like it is on the porch. One day I'm mowing the lawn. I stop after I finish our lawn to grab lunch before I go over to the neighbors. Everyone else is at work. I am the only one here. In the main room, the kitchen is half a foot higher than the living and dining room, and there is a bar and sink that separates it from the rest of the room. I walk into the front door, and as my eyes adjust to the indoor light, I see it at the back of the kitchen duck behind an island which is blocked by the bar. I sprint into the kitchen thinking there was an intruder. Nothing is there. I have some other shit that happens in this house. This is just the most prominent. It still happens, and it will be when I walk into a room. I have not seen a solid apparition yet, just a blur out of the corner of my eye. I have another story from this place, but I think it is a different entity from that story. For background, my uncle's mom died in the room that I am staying in. She loved me to death when I was little and always said she wished she could watch me forever, which weirded me out as a kid, but whatever. The only computer in the house is this 9-year-old laptop in the big main room that I talked about earlier. It is about midnight, and I am sitting at the computer desk, Skyping this girl I met down here. I am on the phone with the camera on since my microphone is broken and cannot pick up on anything unless you yell. Anyways, I decided to go make some chicken in the kitchen. I am talking to her over the phone in front of the microwave, which is around the corner of the main room. The only light in this big-ass room is a lamp on the computer desk. The camera is only picking up the computer chair. The rest of the room is dark. She starts freaking out, saying there is something in the chair. I look around the corner over the sink at the chair. Nothing is there. I look back at the microwave and tell her to shut up and stop lying. She keeps swearing that there is something in the chair. She says that the chair moved. I look around the corner again. Holy shit. The chair actually spun around and is facing opposite from what it was again. I go back to tending to my chicken. She is now freaking out. I tell her to shut up. It is just a ghost. It is not hurting nobody. Finally, my chicken is done, and I bring it to the island and start making myself a drink. I am talking to her about the blurs I see in the yard when I hear something. I am sitting there trying to figure out what animal just whined to go outside. All these little yip dogs should be asleep. I start walking around the bar when I hear it again. It hits me like a ton of bricks what this noise is. The chair they have for the computer is this ancient antique. If you put the slightest weight on it, it creaks like you are morbidly obese. The noise was the chair creaking. I tell her what happened and she says she heard it too. Then she tells me she thinks my microphone is fixed. I think, what the fuck, what do you mean? She says she heard someone talking in the background and just assumed it was me in the kitchen. Like I said earlier, you have to yell at this microphone from a foot away for it to even register you are talking. Whatever. I finish my drink and bring it to the computer. I turn the chair to face the computer again. As I make a move to go sit down again, I get hit by the coldest chill I have gotten since I had to trek through knee-high snow in Virginia. My ass touches the seat as my bedroom door slams open, then shut. Jeesh, someone is cranky.
Backstory. My dad's uncle shot himself out back of my old house when the house was a laundromat. Grandpa gave it to Dad. Dad built a house there. You would set something down and walk away and it would go missing. You would always feel watched at night. Be me, 5 years old, and my sister is 14. She is 9 years older than me. I do not remember when it started, but for the longest time I saw a shadow man in my doorway. It was a 6-foot skinny shadow that looked like see-through TV static, if that makes sense. I did not have a door for my room, so directly across was the stairs in the middle between my room and the bathroom. My sister's room was down the hall to the right of mine, and my parents were across from her. I hated sleeping in my room. and my parents always told me to suck it up, etc. No matter what the fuck I told them. I continued to see him leaning against my doorway every night until I was 7-ish. Be me, 7 years old, and my sister came home from a party, and I heard her walking up the stairs, sneaking home. Suddenly I hear someone running up behind her. Sit up and watch her run full speed from the stairs to her room. I see some black mass follow her. I get up and look out of my doorway, and the shadow man is in the middle of the hall. He turns around and looks at me. I scream and cry. I ran at him. I ran through him. My whole body feels like I just got thrown in ice-cold water and then electrocuted. My legs go numb, and I turn to see his weird, static gray face make eye contact with me. Weird, static, jabbering eyes are looking at me as I run to my sister's room, and she's crying. My dad comes in pissed because he is tired. He explains to my sister there are no ghosts and to stop scaring me. Years later, he told us his uncle offed himself out back and tried to strangle him to death when he was younger. We moved out of the house. Apparently, my old dog is haunting it as well. You can hear dogs' nails walk across the floor, etc., and their dog's water dish moves to where he was. My dad's uncle's ghost is scaring their kids now, too. Another time, I walked with my sister into an antique place last year with my 3-year-old niece. The front part of the old farm-looking house feels fine. We are looking around at stuff, having fun shopping. I take one step into the back, into another huge room, and I feel something. I feel terrified, like someone is screaming in my face. I froze in place, I was so startled. My niece comes around the corner laughing about a toy she found and comes over to me. She didn't see my face at all and instantly would not go in the room and demanded I pick her up. My sister asked if I was all right, and I told her I was fine. She walks in, and I feel like I am being watched. I turn my head to the left and see a shit ton of old dolls looking at me. I hear fucked up whispering sounds. I am trying hard to not scare my niece, but I can tell she just feels it too. We go up the second floor. I feel like someone is screaming at me to steal shit. A voice is saying, "Just take it, take it." I start shaking and feeling cold. We walk up the third floor. All bad feels are gone, and my niece seems calmer. We leave, and I tell my sister what happened. She tried to ask my niece. My niece just did not want to talk about it and told us to stop talking about it.
Not really scary, but spooked me, considering I basically lived there most of my childhood. So I am nearly sure that my grandmother and grandfather's house has an entity or entities haunting it. This is coming from the perspective of my dad, who told me this late one night when he was drunk. He swears on the lives of my brothers and my sister that it happened. Summer of '89. My grandma and grandpa are away for their anniversary down the country. My dad and uncle decided to throw a small get-together party with their mutual friends because free house, and why not? My dad has 2 brothers, of whom he is the oldest. He was 18 at the time, my uncle being 17, and my other uncle being age 2. Let us call the 17-year-old Uncle A and the 2-year-old Uncle L. There is a large gap in years, I know. Backstory time. My dad at the start of the night told everyone if they wanted to smoke they could go out the backyard, and that upstairs was out of bounds at all times because my youngest uncle was sleeping, and he did not want him to awaken. Everyone understands and agrees. Fair enough. As the night goes on and the party starts dying down, maybe only 5 or 6 people are left. My father is out of smokes, so him and my now mother run to the 24-hour store to buy some. The house itself stands at the top of the hill, with L's bedroom at the front of the house. My dad and A shared a room at the back of the house. Leading up to the house was a driveway, about 30 to 40 meters in length. As they are walking up the driveway to the house, they look up to the window of L's room and see 2 silhouettes conversing in a casual manner, with the light from the hallway casting a light into the blind. Both him and my mum are adamant that they saw 2 figures talking. Pissed off, My dad runs to the house and enters the living room to where the remnants of the party had been. My dad said, I fucking told you not to be letting anyone upstairs. I said, what the fuck are you on about? None of us have left this room since you have gone. My dad turns pale white and shoots up the stairs like a suffering from ADHD on meth. He opens the door. Dinosaur. Joking. Fuck that dinosaur. He goes over to Elle's sleeping cot and looks down. Elle is staring up at him like this fucker has 3 heads, each with a hanging horn on top. The areas around Elle's eyes are red as shit, as if he was crying hysterically and was rubbing his eyes. Although Elle was only 2, he obviously knew his siblings, and he adored my dad as a child. My dad would take him on strolls in the park and shit, so he knew my dad was no threat, even though he looked petrified when my dad stood over him. That is basically it. It is shit, I know, although I have a few more experiences, some of my own. When he told my grandmother and grandfather about it, they were quite skeptical and said that it was probably the alcohol screwing with his sight, but he had stayed sober in case shit went south or Elle awoken.
Okay, everyone. I have a lot of paranormal stories, and I've seen a lot of those mediums who all say I act like a sort of bridge for them to show up. Of course, I think they are all crackpots, but I learned to respect their beliefs after every house I have lived in has had major nope activity. I have lived in over 20 homes over my 18 years on this planet. My first experience was when I was 6. Most of it is told through family, but there is one I really do remember. Belittle me, just moved to Mexico with my dad, who is not Mexican. It was just a job site he worked on. I had an imaginary friend named Christopher Police. I would always talk to him under the table, or at various spots near the border commonly patrolled by Mexicans. One very spooky event was when we were leaving Mexico. I saw him standing out with a gun by the checkpoint nodding at me, kinda like he was crying. He just vanished in a sort of instant. I did not even blink. He was just gone. Years later, I looked up border patrol officers or police around that area for shits. My sister said it might have been a ghost. Sure enough, there's a small snippet of a newspaper that was scanned onto some Mexican blog thing. His name was Christopher. He looks exactly like my imaginary friend. Welp. Not scary, but hey, it was my first thing. The second was pretty odd, and I took it like a trooper. Next story, living in the good old Bible Belt of America. I'm 9 years old. I'm watching some shitty TV drama with my mom. I glanced over to the hallway. The living room shared the same area as the dining room, and the only doorway was to a hallway for bedrooms and the kitchen entryway. A black figure is peering around the corner. It looked about 5 feet tall. It seemed to shift its focus to me via head turning, with no distinguishable features. It darts away into the hallway. I follow it like some spurg. I look down the hall. It opened the door to my room somehow, walked in, and the door stayed open. I noped right out and slept in my sister's room for a few weeks. 2 months later, I had all but forgotten about the first time. I am washing in the shower. I open my eyes from shampooing. The same black figure is there, except now my height is imprinted into the wall, in before shadow. It was dark as night, and the only sources of light were a small window above the shower and a dim, shitty light that my dad had yet to replace. It is crossing its arms, staring at me and shaking its head side to side. I wave my hands around. The figure does not move. I block the light from the window. It is still there. God damn it. Shit. I took the Lord's name in vain. Preacher man is going to get me good anywho. I just said hi and bolted. That was the last time I saw that one, or so I thought. I now be 10, at my grandparents' house for the night. It was built over a burial ground or some shit. I wake up and all the clocks are off. I assumed the power went out. Except there is a red glow in my periphery. It is dark outside and my grandparents are asleep. I turn, and I shit you not. There is a glowing red person kneeling down before standing up and staring down at the ground. The entire area is just glowing a brighter red. It is like bright red, not blood red. I nope out and turn around, burying my head into the couch. I black out. I wake up and ask my grandpa about it. He says the house is built on a burial ground, and the stone decorations they had on the kitchen wall were artifacts from some culture that were meant to ward off evil and bring in good. I just assume for life that it was a hunter checking for tracks, as I have seen the same pose for my brother-in-law, who is a hunter and also Native American, having learned those tracking and hunting traditions and shit. I did not stay there again until the night my grandmother died. It is still spooky. Freshman year of high school, living in some shitty state, in my friend's basement. I visited my first medium after this shitty event. We are chilling, playing Modern Warfare 2. I look over to the corner, feeling an odd feeling of being drawn to it. I walk over to it, feel an odd warmth, then terribly cold. I started crying without really crying. Tears were streaming down my face for no reason. I turned to face my friend and ask if he had any flowers. He's frozen, staring at me. I turn around, wondering if there is like a spider or something. Nope. .webm. It is that same figure, arms at its side staring, except I can make out some facial features. It is a girl. I just sat back on the couch, tears still falling. He is staring agape. I just grab his shoulder, confirming he's not dead. He looks at me, which is when I saw the figure dissipate. Medium said I was a way to communicate for them, to manifest temporarily. Kind of fucked in my opinion. At my friend's house again a month or so later. It is 4 a.m. We are watching Tosh.0 because edgy. For background, there is a window behind his couch that has a sort of crank to open. It was broken, so it just rotated, not opening. You had to push the window to open it. We tried, putting both of our weight on the window, and it would not budge. Whatevs. It is hot, but we will deal. After half an hour, I feel a cool breeze. I turn around. The window is wide open. I hear a giggle from the corner. I nope right out the window. He and I took a long walk to town. Anywho, that's all I have for now. There's dozens more. For all you paranormal lovers out there, any idea why they seem to be attracted to me? I seem to bring them wherever I go. Currently in my 20th home since birth, and there seems to be something going on everywhere I go. I really would like some advice from strangers, since y'all really don't know me. Anywho, talk to you guys later.
Be me a few years ago, drug dealer. One of the women I work with, or rather we stand on the same stretch of road, she's a streetwalker. And talk when it is slow also works at this little Asian bakery a few mornings a week. She does not like walking to work alone, so I go with her with the promise of free leftovers. The actual kitchen is 2 floors below the bakery on street level, which is weird because the floor above it looked like a regular industrial basement, while this one is more like a hallway in an old mansion with patterns all over the ceiling. I am just looking at the ceiling when she disappears into one of the adjoining rooms. I go to follow her. She is not in the room I thought she was in. I look in all the other open rooms and find nothing. The other doors are locked. I look down into the other hallways, but the lights are off, and I'm pretty sure she did not go that far. I call out for her. No response. I start feeling a little spooked. I start feeling really spooked when all the lights go out. I stood there for a second and swore I felt something touching me. Nope. I start walking blindly back towards where I came from. I call out again. No response. I have this weird, cloudy moment. I am not entirely sure what happened there. All of a sudden, all the lights are on and she is leaning out of a room I already looked in, and there was fucking nothing in there saying, "Are you coming?" I'm like the lights went out, because I do not even know what to say. She is all, "Oh yeah, they do that sometimes when a truck goes past or something." I just get my cakes and leave. I think I just had some weird brain shut down, but it was really freaky. Still kept accompanying her for cakes, and it never happened again. She said she didn't hear me calling out to her either.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel, as more Greentext will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.